We've done several videos talking about how needless black Superman is. I don't care if it's Calvin, Val-Zod, or tokenized Kal-El. Tokenized Superman is not necessary. Of course, these weird, let's say, activists who call themselves writers, reporters, directors as well, producers, actors, actresses, and what have you. After it was announced that Ta-Nehisi Coates would be doing this whole Superman reboot, but also alluding to the idea that the Superman that they're going to be played is going to be a black Superman, which only people ask for that are normies. This guy says, we'll read it. This is coming from a writer by the name of Aramide Tinubu. It's clearly an African name. But he says, it's funny, he was mentioning guys, the casting idea on Trevante Rhodes. Hilariously enough, I used to run against Trevante. He went to if I'm not mistaken, he went to the University of Texas. He's a fellow 100-meter guy. I think he was on there 4x1. I knew all those goals. Rocket, Marquise Goodwin. Big shout out to my man's Marquise. Who's in the NFL right now. They were all part of the same football. I knew Trevante. But now he's supposedly this up-and-coming actor, which I only found that out recently. Anyways, the world's a lot smaller than what you like to believe. That's a complete side note. The truth is that he could not come at a better moment, but only if the character's modern potential is served. So you read that, and he's like, yes, as usual, these activists who are writers say that, well, we need Black Superman because, it's a purpose that it serves, and the purpose to them is that, it's some social view that they can have. He does end up going into this whole idea of the cultural phenomena that was Black Panther. But there's something that he says down here that when he goes complete, absolute dumbassery. Here in a little bit, where is it at? So let me backtrack just a little bit. I think you guys do need to watch my video about Ta-Nehisi Coates and how he's he's very talentless when it comes to this space. He's responsible for this dog shit comic, which was the Black Panther run, a recent Black Panther run, which is whole intergalactic Wakanda. Somehow he ended up being able to write comics, not because he came from a background of writing comics, it's because he was a social guy, social political guy that agreed with them, and they put him on the book. That's it. So he gets that. He gets Captain America as well. And both of those runs are absolutely dog shit. And you can see that he has no business being around that, but he gets rewarded now, along with Jar Jar Abrams, rewarded with controlling, let's say, the more live action depiction of Superman here. So we see here he talks about that this black superhero, Superman rather, is going to be reimagined, and it should be. But the interesting thing here, he does mention somewhere that he wants them to actually, and this is him admitting what I say that they do, they only do this for social, political reasons, not because he's the best man for the job. No, that has nothing to do with that. It's just that they have social politics that they want to make known. And there was a particular comment that I wanted to have. There it is. I had to find it. So right here, in doing so, Coates may want to consider previous efforts done to launch black superheroes. So basically what he's talking about here, he talks about Meteor Man, Robert Townsend's Meteor Man, and Halle Berry's Storm and X-Men, and Wesley Snipes' Blade, which was a great movie, by the way. Great trilogy. I know some people didn't like all of it. Say what you will, but it put not only Blade on the map, but it got people trusting Marvel comic depictions in live action again. And he's mad that, like it says, Blade doesn't emphasize the fact that he's black, which he doesn't seem to connect the idea, this writer doesn't seem to connect the idea that, well, that's why it hit. I keep saying all the time how the one benefit that a lot of white characters have is that the artists and the writers are forced, straight white characters, forced to be as creative as possible. There's no social ill to fall back on. Unfortunately, especially these days, when it comes to a lot of black characters and female characters, they have to sit here and overemphasize the fact that, well, they're black, well, they're a woman. So they have to have these long struggles with their race or something like that. And it's predictable. It's cliche. We see it from virtually every black superhero, but they don't understand that, okay, that's why they're lousy stories, because you're giving us predictable stories. Even with the new Milestone, I talked about this before because I already long knew about it. I did videos on it about how they even like retconned Static's like upbringing, or rather his origin story, to sort of have this he got his powers in this like Black Lives Matter protest. Like, these guys are predictable as shit. He says those black people are not a monolith. For many of us, refusing to acknowledge our blackness signals erasure. It's like, dude, is there nothing else to you aside from being black? And this is why I'm like, dude, why can't the black person just be a lawyer? Why does he have to be black person like first? Like, dude, maybe he's black. Yeah, he can be original. He can be black. But why does that have to be hyper-emphasized? Why? It's like they don't understand what made the characters pop that are straight and white. It's not because they're straight and white. It's because the artists and the writers are forced to be as creative as possible. There's no social ill to fall back on. You're a fucking loser if you think that, okay, if they gave you a black character and they didn't emphasize the fact that he was black all the damn time, that's erasing you. God, these people are fucking stupid. For Cougar, and almost certainly with Coates, centering a black superhero's culture, history, and ethnicity is a signal of black pride, not just for those. And again, that's why I said with Ta-Nehisi Coates, he's probably going to do that. But for all of us who are still bombarded with black trauma and pain in media, all right, whoever this guy is, I want on record, and you can tell him I said it. Actually, don't do that, because I don't want him being bullied by people. I'm just going to say that Aramide, you're a fucking loser. You're a fucking loser, straight up. Fuck you talking about black. What do you say? Black. What do you say? Black. He's talked about the erasure, and then he said black trauma. What the fuck is that, man? What is that? That's some sort of shit that you just conjured and made up. Get out of my fucking face. But all I wanted to do was show you guys here that, of course, this confirms exactly what it is that I say. They, for one, need validation. They need validation for being black, which is, again, you're a loser if you need that. But they only tie that validation to other black folks, and they have to acknowledge the fact that that person, or overemphasize the fact that they're black. They can't just be a black person that's also a superhero. Right? So it's not, a lack of creativity is more so what we're coming to. But also you have to consider that, well, it's some loser sort of, if you need validation through these fictional characters anyway, it's something else. But this idea that we can't relate to other people in other ways, like you mentioned, black people are not a monolith. Just because you're black and I'm black does not mean that we all skin folk ain't kinfolk, bro. I don't fucking know y'all like that. A lot of y'all I don't fuck with like that, and y'all don't fuck with me anyway, so vice versa. It's just like, okay, we acknowledge that. You acknowledge that. Why on earth would that mean that they need to hyper-emphasize that? But you do prove me right. And that is, you, just like they're going to probably do with black character Superman, which doesn't need to be a thing. It doesn't need to be a thing. We don't need black Superman, but they're going to give you him probably. They need that. They need to be authenticated, or rather validated, by way of these characters. And they do it specifically for a signal effort. So all this does right here is prove me right. Has nothing to do with talent. Has nothing to do with the best person for the job. This is strictly about social views and wanting to beat you over the head with it and utilizing characters that they didn't create in order to do it. I said this go down, and a lot of people get mad at me for saying it. Yet and again, I am right.